Hello students, today we are going to study the second part of chapter number 15 of our class 10th science NCERT textbook, that is our environment. So in the last session we have covered the topics we studied about the introduction, components of environment, waste and ecosystem. Now in today's session we are going to cover the topics food chain, food web, 10% law, biological magnification, ozone depletion and preventive measures. So let's start with the food chain. Food chain is the process of eating and being eaten. So in a food chain, the organism who eats is also being eaten by another organism. That is called a food chain. In this sequence, one organism eats the other organism. One organism eats another organism, and the same organism who ate other organism is eaten by some other organism. So as we can see in the figure given here, this is the grass, which is the producer. As we know that producer is who make their food by themselves. That is, grass is the producer. This grass is eaten by a grasshopper who is the primary consumer. That is, the organisms or the animals who eat grasses are the primary consumer. This grasshopper is eaten by another organism which is the secondary consumer, that is the bluebird. This bluebird is eaten by the snake who is the tertiary consumer, and then this snake is eaten by owl who is the apex predator. Apex predator means who eats the snake, but owl is not eaten by anyone, but it dies after some time, or after its period of death it becomes decomposer. It is eaten by the decomposers, that is, it gets dead and decayed. So that dead and decayed matter of owl is eaten by the decomposers, and this decomposers produces grass. So this is the whole food chain. Grass, which is eaten by the grasshopper, primary consumer. Then this grasshopper who eats the other organism, that is who eats the grass, is eaten by some other organism. That is, this grasshopper is eaten by the bluebird. Bluebird is eaten by the snake, which is the tertiary consumer. Then snake is eaten by the owl, who is the predator, and this owl becomes dead and decayed after its death, which is eaten by the decomposers. So a food chain generally consists of producers, that is the grass, consumers, that is these consumers, primary, secondary and tertiary, and decomposers. Each step of food chain is called its trophic level. As we see, this grass is a trophic level first, then this is the second trophic level, this is the third trophic level, fourth trophic level, fifth trophic level. This way, each and every step in the food chain is a trophic level at which the transfer of energy takes place. What happens in this trophic level? Transfer of energy takes place. As they move up, there occurs the transfer of energy. Usually a food chain consists of 4 to 5 trophic levels, because after that the energy availability is almost nil. So they consist of, in a food chain usually there are 4 to 5 trophic levels, because after that the energy becomes nil, that is, the energy becomes zero. Now, the food chain are represented by drawing pyramids. As we saw here, this food chain are represented in the form of a drawing. Here, we can also represent food chain in the form of a pyramid, where the lower level is of producers. Here, producers are there. Then comes the primary consumers, secondary consumer, tertiary consumer, and the decomposers. So here different levels are occupied by different organisms. As we can see in the example given below, terrestrial food chain is given. That is the food chain of organisms who live on land. These green plants are eaten by the deer, who is the primary consumer, and this deer is eaten by the lion, who is the secondary consumer. So this food chain is of only consist of 3 trophic levels. Here if we see, the grass is eaten by the grasshopper, who is the primary consumer, is eaten by frog, secondary consumer. Then its frog is eaten by snake, who is the tertiary consumer, and the snake is eaten by the hawk, who is a predator. So this food chain consists of 5 trophic levels. Now let's see the aquatic food chain. Here in this aquatic food chain, these aquatic plants are eaten by the zooplanktons. Zooplanktons are very small organisms who live inside the sea. So these aquatic plants are eaten by zooplanktons. These zooplanktons, that are small organisms living inside the sea, are eaten by the small fishes. These are the primary consumers, small fish are the secondary consumers, and the small fish are eaten by the large fishes. So this is a food chain of 4 trophic levels. So this way the food chain consists of trophic levels. Now comes the food web. In the food chain we saw that the food chain is unidirectional, means this food web is also unidirectional, but in food chain one organism was eaten by the other organism, only one other organism. But here in a food web, that one organism can be eaten by many other organisms. It is defined as an interconnected food chains. In this, any organism is eaten by several other organisms. Many other organisms eats the previous one. If we see here in the example, this is the grass. This grass is eaten by the grasshopper. This grasshopper is eaten by the rat. Rat is eaten by python. Python is eaten by the eagle. So if another in another way, if we see, grass is eaten by the grasshopper. This grasshopper is eaten by the frog. Frog is eaten by the python, and python is eaten by eagle. Or if we say this frog is eaten by directly by the eagle also. Then if we see the rat, who is eaten by who eats the grasshopper, this rat is eaten by the wolf, and this wolf is eaten by the eagle. Another, if we see, this is the flowering plant. This flowering plant is eaten by butterfly. This butterfly is eaten by dragonfly, or even the frog eats this butterfly, and this dragonfly is eaten by the by a predatory bird. Then this way one organism is eaten by several other organisms. This whole makes a food web. Now comes the 10% law. According to 10% law, the energy that gets transferred at each trophic level is only 10% of the energy. As we know that at each trophic level the energy is getting transferred. Now this energy which is getting transferred at each trophic level, it is only 10% of the energy available at the previous level. If we see from this example, this is the sunlight. Sunlight is having 1000 joules of light energy. This 1000 joules of light energy it gives to the plants, that is the producers. But the plants do not consume the whole 1000 joules of energy. It takes only 10 joules of energy as food. That is, it has only 10 joules of energy available as food, and 990 joules of energy gets lost in the environment. In a similar manner, when this producer, that is when this grass is eaten by deer, who is a herbivore, it gives the plant gives whole 10 joules of energy to the deer, but the deer takes only 1 joule of energy. The deer gets only 1 joule of energy as food. 9 joules of energy is lost in the atmosphere. Then the deer has 1 joule of energy, but the lion who eats that deer gets only 0.1 joule of energy as food. Other 0.9 joule of energy is lost in the environment. This way there is a progressive loss of energy in the food chain. That's why after some time, that is after 4 to 5 trophic levels, the transfer of energy, the energy level becomes nil, that is it becomes zero, because as the food chain increases, there is loss of energy. The energy gets lost in the environment. So this is the 10% law. Now another topic. Now this is biological magnification. So it is defined as an increase in the concentration of some harmful substances at tropic levels. So as we all know that if we want to grow any plant, for growing the plant we use pesticides. Those pesticides consist of harmful chemicals. So these harmful chemicals, they are present, they harm the environment also. So as the food chain increases, the concentration of the harmful chemicals also increases. So sometimes these harmful chemicals may enter into the food chain. So they enter into the food chain, and it is surprising to note that at each step the concentration keeps on increasing. That at each step of the food chain, the concentration of these harmful chemicals keeps on increasing. As we can take the example here, water. This water consists of 0.00003 ppm of harmful chemicals. Then when this water is taken by the zooplanktons, it consists of 0.04 ppm of harmful chemicals. Then when these zooplanktons is eaten by the small fish means the small fish also takes inside 0.5 ppm of harmful chemicals along with the zooplanktons. Then large fish gets inside 2 ppm of harmful chemicals, and at the last the fish eating birds, which are the prey, they can get 25 ppm of harmful chemicals. Means the harmful chemicals of all these organisms goes inside this prey. So that's why the concentration of the harmful chemicals is more over here, and that's why they get died and they become dead and decayed, and that is eaten by the decomposers. This is known as biological magnification. Then ozone. As we know that ozone is a molecule of 3 oxygen atoms, that is O3, and it is present in the stratosphere, that is a layer of the atmosphere. We know that it is present in the atmosphere, but there are different levels in the atmosphere. So it is present in the stratosphere layer of the atmosphere. Ozone is formed. Now let's see that how is this ozone formed. So as we know that the sunlight gives UV rays. UV rays, ultraviolet rays, are released from the sunlight. So this UV rays breaks down this oxygen molecule into 2 oxygen atoms. Now this 2 oxygen atom breaks down into 2 oxygen atoms. This 1 oxygen atom combines with other oxygen molecule. It is not like that all the oxygen molecules that are present in the atmosphere breaks down due to the ultraviolet rays. If some molecules of oxygen are breaking down, then there are other molecules of oxygen that are present in the atmosphere. So this oxygen atoms combine with the oxygen molecule that are present in the atmosphere, and they form O3, that is ozone. that is only given in this figure. That is, this ultraviolet rays are released from the sunlight, and this breaks down this oxygen molecule into oxygen atom, and this oxygen atom combines with another oxygen molecule to form O3. Here also this oxygen atom combines with this oxygen molecule to form O3. This way ozone is formed. Now, ozone protects us from ultraviolet radiation. As we know that it protects us from the UV rays that enters into the Earth's atmosphere. So, because if that UV rays, if ozone is not there, and if the UV rays directly hit the Earth's atmosphere, it may harm us in many ways, such as they may raise the temperature of Earth, it may increase the temperature of Earth, it may cause global warming, it may cause skin disorders, and it may even cause eye disorders and many more. Now comes the ozone depletion. The thinning of ozone layer by air pollutants is called ozone depletion. The ozone layer is becoming thin day by day. So because of the air pollutants, that is called as ozone depletion. Depletion means the ozone is getting depleted. The ozone is getting destroyed day by day. That's why its layer is becoming thin, because of this air pollutants. And for this, what is the reason because for this thinning? The synthetic chemicals like CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, and that are generally used in refrigerators, air conditioners, etc. These synthetic chemicals are responsible for the thinning of the ozone layer, which is leading to ozone depletion. So that's why an agreement is made by the industrialized nations, that is the Montreal Protocol, which is to freeze the production of CFCs, to reduce the production of CFC and make use of some alternative sources. So it was done in 1987 by UNEP, that is United Nations Environment Program, who told us, that is who made an agreement that instead of using CFCs, HFCs, that is hydrofluorocarbons, and PFCs, that is phosphorus fluorocarbons are used, which leads to decrease in ozone depletion. Then comes the garbage. Garbage is the refuse of fruits, vegetables and fruits along with other domestic waste that we know, that we call as garbage. Now, these are considered as waste, and there are certain methods for disposing the waste in right way. So, we consider this garbage as waste, but there are certain methods to dispose the waste. Dispose means to throw the waste. There are certain methods, there are certain methods through which we can dispose the waste in a right way. What are that? Landfills. Landfills means we dig a deep pit in the land, inside which we can dig the waste. So because this is fruit waste, vegetable waste and other domestic waste, so that we can throw or discard in the land, which will not harm the land. In fact, it will become a food for the decomposers. Then is the preparation of compost. As we can see here, the compost is prepared. Compost, of generally we say, is khatar, that we can prepare with this waste, which is used for the agricultural purposes. If we want to increase the production of crop, compost is added in that crop, due to which the crop grown is very fertile. Then burning at high temperature, which we call as incineration. As we can see here, this is the burning of waste at high temperatures, so that it do not cause any harm to the environment, which is incineration. Then there is production of biogas and manures. With the help of these gases, biogas and manures are prepared, and these are produced for the crop production, as we do for the production of compost. Now let's answer some of the questions. Why some substances are biodegradable and some are non-biodegradable? This is due to the reason that some substances can be degraded by the enzymes which is released by the microorganisms. As we saw that there are some substances which can be broken down by the bacteria, which we generally tell that can be broken down by the bacteria, which we call as saprotrophs or saprophytes, and some cannot be broken down by the bacteria, that we term as non-biodegradable, so they cannot be degraded. Then give any two ways in which non-biodegradable substances can affect the environment. Non-biodegradable substances are generally those substances such as plastic, polythene bags. So they create pollution as they become the source of foul smell. If they are kept anywhere or discarded anywhere or thrown anywhere for a longer time, then they produce a foul smell. So this creates pollution and they act as a breeding ground for many diseases. So this will lead to many diseases. Then what are trophic levels? As we studied in today's session itself, that they are the various steps which are in the food chain at which transfer of energy takes place. The steps that in a food chain at which transfer of energy takes place are known as trophic levels. Then how do decomposers function in ecosystem? As we know that decomposers, they feed on the dead and decaying matter, that is they use the dead bodies as their food, and they break down the complex substances into simpler ones. The complex dead and decaying matter, they convert it into simpler ones which mixes into the soil and are reused by the plants. Then give two methods that can reduce the problem of water disposal. Two methods. First is recycle of plastic, paper, etc. They should be reused again. And dumping. The waste can be dumped into pits and can be used as manure. The dumping of the waste should be done in a right way, proper manner. That is, either they should be dumped into pits or they should be used as manures. So with this, we complete chapter number 15 of our class 10th Science NCERT textbook. Thank you and have a great day.